Today I would like to talk about what are the things that dogs need to know. Um, what do you think? Are there any behaviors that every dog should absolutely have to know? Should anything be required? Um, why don't we just jump in? We'll do our little presentation here. um, so this is something I want to talk about because there's a lot of controversial topics in the dog world, and this is one. Now, I'm going to tell you up front that after we kind of talk through this together, I want to teach you how to train a couple of my favorite behaviors, my favorite cues that I like every dog to know, or at least every dog that I meet. But the fact is, there is nothing that's required. Not a thing. Now, this may be good news because it means that anybody can have a dog, even if they don't have the time or the resources or the knowledge to train. And that's a good thing. But there's a lot of good guidelines for where you might want to start. One such guideline, it comes from the AKC, the American Kennel Club, their Canine Good Citizen test. It's pretty extensive. They've got a list of 10, it's 10 tasks. There might actually be more behaviors within each of those, which adds up to a lot of training time for us, or for the owner. But they come down to meeting a stranger, being friendly to a stranger. I believe that includes being touched by said stranger, sitting to greet someone, so not jumping on people, going through a grooming procedure, walking on a loose leash, walking through a crowd of people. They have to know sit, down, and stay, and have a good recall. Recall, if you don't know, is just coming when called. They have to see another dog without responding in a highly reactive or aggressive way. They have to tolerate a number of unusual distractions, and they have to be able to remain calm while their owner leaves them. Still accompanied, but their owner has to be able to leave. So that is quite a list. That's a big list. And oh, hey, Jesse. I don't even think Dizzy couldn't even pass that, right? Although it is kind of a cliche, like a funny joke that trainers' dogs are never as well trained as their clients because trainers are very busy. but I do a lot of work with Dizzy, and he even probably could not pass all of these tests. But that's the interesting thing about it. Hey, Say, tell me, just while this is up here, do you guys think that your dogs could pass this Canine Good Citizen test? That's actually quite a lot to ask of a dog, but this is a good, if you feel like doing more training, it's a good, what's the word I'm trying to think of? It's not coming to me, but it's a good goal to work towards, because if you ever plan to move, if you rent, being able to show a potential landlord that your dogs have achieved this can be a really good way to find a place to live. It can help in that way. It also just feels good to know that you and your dog have achieved something together. It has a lot of benefits because dogs who can meet all of these criteria, hopefully it's supposed to be a good guideline for knowing that they can navigate life in a human world without much of a problem. I believe that's the intention here, and it's good. Jesse and Say both say no way and big no. My doggos are not good citizens. Yeah, neither is Dizzy. But they're still good doggos, right? Like that's the thing, is that when we bring dogs into our into our human world, without training, they're not all necessarily like, they may struggle in one area or multiple areas. And so that's kind of why I was thinking about this question is, and well, let me show you the next slide, because I, just out of my own curiosity, I took a poll yesterday, really informal, just to hear what other people say. Like, what do they think is required training for pet dogs? And if you guys want to let me know what you think, you can write that in the comments too. Just really curious. But so far from my informal poll, I got a lot of this. And there seemed to be a difference in how other trainers answered the question versus how dog owners answered the question. From the owners, the answers from individual people were something along the lines of sit, stay, and no begging, or sit, stay, and recall, or sit, stay, recall, and down, sit, stay, and potty training, recall, leave it, drop it, and wait. But there would be a list, you know, not quite as extensive as the CGC test, but a lot of owners, they had you know, a decent sized list of what they felt dogs should know. The trainers' answers, it was just interesting to see this, how they were kind of categorized different. Trainers from answers from trainers sounded much more like being home alone. They have to be okay with being alone. They have to know a recall. They should know leave it. They should know how to station. They should be socialized. But and I don't mean the trainers' answers were like all 5 of these. I mean, from an individual trainer, most of them would name one item, or very few at the very least. And it's interesting that the trainers had much shorter list of what they felt owners should know, or not owners, what the dogs should know. Now, I have a guess as to why this might be, and the guess is that when I asked the question, trainers heard what should be required of all pet dogs, like maybe what should be enforced in the law. And so of course you're going to keep that bar pretty low, because you want people to be able to have dogs and not, you know, our resources are limited. And so they were like, what's the bare minimum? What's the lowest common denominator that dogs might need just to be able to navigate our world comfortably? So they would give one answer. Whereas I think the owners heard something more along the lines of, what is the minimum that you think your dog should need for you to be happy living with them, right? That's my guess. I don't know, but it was just something interesting, you know, that the owners had kind of a laundry list of what they felt dogs should know, and the trainers were like, let's focus on one thing. They're all good answers. You know, that's kind of the point. You know, like I said, nothing is required, so you get to train what you need. And well, another thing is the trainers. I also think that we give shorter answers because trainers think a lot about what you need. Trainers, I mean, we this is a free service, by the way. We think a lot about what our clients need versus what they might want. You know, we want you to get the most benefit for your time and for your money and your effort. We want you to get the biggest results, and we want you to get what you need first. And then if you have wants beyond that, wonderful. But part of our job is to zero in on what's the most important, or what's going to make the biggest difference to your life and to your dog's life. So we think a lot about that. So we that's why we're like, bingo, right there. It's just that one. They need that one. But yeah, the point is, you get to train what you need. It's a choice. Nothing's required. There's no laws in the US anyway, about what dogs need to know. And frankly, you know best what your dog needs. And dogs are individuals too, right? Like, they are gonna come into the world with different strengths and weaknesses, and some dogs may need our assistance via training to become more comfortable with strangers, or to become more comfortable with grooming, or to learn not to jump on people, or they're individuals, and so what they need is totally dependent on them and what their human wants in order to keep living with them, right? And that is, of course, that's like the big question, is just what does the owner need in order to keep the dog in the home, right? Now, I know none of you would ever want to rehome your dogs, but no, but it happens, so I thought that instead of a specific list of, this behavior, and this behavior, it might be more helpful to just think about the reasons why we train, period. The reasons why you might want to train something, and the actual behaviors don't matter so much. Like, on our list of owner suggestions, most of them started with sit. Sit is like, everybody thinks they have to know sit, but I cannot tell you, I know so many trainers whose dogs don't know sit. And they're great dogs and they're very well behaved, but they don't need sit, right? So you can use sit to accomplish a lot of goals, but sit doesn't have to be the answer. You can actually get quite creative, and I think that's kind of the fun of training and having a dog and just all of this stuff. So the reasons, I'm just gonna list the reasons that you might train, just kind of as a guideline. And then, like I said, I'm gonna give you a couple of my favorites, and I'm gonna show you how to do it at the end here. So reason number one, like I said, what keeps the dog in their homes? Like, what are the things, and I do want you to answer this if you're watching. What are the things that if your dog kept doing them and you couldn't fix it, that you would just not be able to keep them anymore? Do you have deal breakers, or can your dog do no wrong? For a lot of people, and these are statistically some of the most common reasons that dogs do get relinquished to shelters or rehomed, are pooping and peeing in the house, and destroying our stuff, destroying human property. Those are the big ones. And I'm trying to keep that list pretty short, because we can live with a lot of stuff. I mean, dogs bring us so much joy and so much comfort, and they're just so wonderful. But they can also be really difficult to live with sometimes. But we put up with it because they're worth it, right? But for some people, they might have they might have a bigger list or a different list than this. Like, what can you live with? What can you not? I don't know. I think the pooping and the peeing might actually do it for me. If Dizzy, I don't know. Well, he's just sleeping, but if he like just kept pooping and the peeing in the house every day, like I'd lose my home, right? Like that, I don't know. That would be a big deal breaker. Maybe aggression that couldn't be managed. That becomes a liability. So that might be a reason. So, which is why socialization, please. Anti-aggression training, very, very important. Okay, moving on to reason number two, are safety concerns. And I just brought up aggression, and when I wrote safety concerns, I did mean for the dog, but I suppose you might also consider public safety too. Like if your dog is posing a threat to people, that's something that definitely needs to be top of the training priority list. But I did mean safety for the dog. So recall or wait at doors, or leave it if your dog is prone to ingest things that might be dangerous in the world. These are all cues that, when trained well, They can stop a dog before they get into danger and can literally save a dog's life. And they have, right? I have had clients that say my dog was headed for a busy street, but thank goodness we had trained recall. She turned on a dime and came back and didn't get hit by a car. And whew, like, I just can't imagine the amount of relief. Like, if, yeah, I just don't even want to think about it. But yeah, any, and this is what I mean um, by where you can get creative, right? Like recall is I really I love recall. I think that that is one thing that everybody should train because it's so handy, and it can kind of, if you train it very like like depth over breadth. Like if we just work on it until they like kind of know it, and then you end there and then go on to training something else, that's not going very deep into it. But if you train it like deeply, your recall, your puppy come can kind of serve to solve most problems, I think. But but you can get creative, right? So one of the things that I want to teach you today can serve as sort of a recall. And often I have had a lot of clients where it turns out to be more reliable than their recall because it's more defined. But I'll show you what I mean in a minute. So yeah, safety concerns. Just what keeps your dog safe. Number 3, cooperative vet and grooming care. So if anybody saw my live last Thursday, I was working with Dizzy on how to accept a Dremel to file his nails, and it takes some time, or it can, depending on your dog, it can take quite a while to train for this sort of stuff. But a lot of this stuff is just stuff that we are going to have to do to dogs, and it's uncomfortable, and they might fight us, and they might bite us, and it's just like, it's a big ordeal, and it stresses us out when they don't like it, and we have to, it's just a mess, right? But this is the sort of like preventative training stuff that can be really, really beneficial, because it's going to happen sooner or later. So some of these things, like nail trims, like wiping your dog's eyes, or cleaning their ears, giving them ear drops maybe, or brushing and combing, maybe even having the clippers taken to them if they've got long fur, wearing the cone of shame, right? Being physically restrained. A lot of dogs are not comfortable with that. Pilling, receiving injections, standing on a grooming table or a veterinary table, right? The list goes on. But all of these things, they're stuff that may not happen too often in a dog's life, but we can reduce their stress and anxiety if we train for them. It's something that I'm pretty passionate about, and I like to share in case it's something that you want to work on with your dogs. So yeah, I probably will be talking a lot about that. But anyway, we'll push on. Reason number 4, and this is a big one for owners, right? These might become priorities. Is whatever training is required to stop unwanted behaviors. Now, usually that means we train them to do something that can replace the unwanted behavior, right? Such as if we don't like that the dog is jumping, we really train up that sit so that they learn to sit to greet rather than jumping on people to greet. So sit can serve that purpose. Down, loose leash walking, training them to walk on a loose leash instead of pulling. Training them like a place cue or a stationing cue, like go lie down or go to your crate. It's a really good way to give them something to do, give them a target, a place to be that's not trying to eat off your plate or getting into trouble some other way, Stay, yeah, you can train them to speak and then be quiet, or drop it if they like to steal your socks and run away from you. But there's a lot of training that can be done just to stop the behaviors that dogs come with that we kind of wish we could do without. And so yeah, so a lot of the behaviors on the trainer list, or the owner lists, were kind of in this category. A lot of like obedience stuff, and then Number 5 is the fun and bonding category. And I put this in here. And this, of course, is kind of the like nobody would probably put this on the required list, right? But I wanted to include it because I think that a huge part of the fun of having a dog is doing activities with them, like learning with them, seeing them learn. It brings me a lot of joy, and that is something I like to share with you. And so there's a lot of training, there's a lot of stuff you can do that maybe doesn't meet the other 4 criteria, but it's worth considering if you don't have goals in those first categories, or it's already done, and you want to do more. Consider teaching fun tricks, party tricks, or little games like hide and seek. We like to play hide and seek in our house. Dog sports. There are so many different dog sports that you can do, and I am working on dog parkour title with Dizzy, and hopefully I'm taking a course to learn how to teach it, and so hopefully this year I will have some dog parkour classes coming up if anybody would be interested in that. But frankly, whatever you think is cool. And also all the training, like all the other 4 reasons that you would train, like anything that goes into those categories, I also put into category number 5, the fun and bonding, because if you are training with positive reinforcement and food and games, your dog is going to love it, which means all of that other stuff, all of the safety stuff, all of the obedience stuff, all of the vet and grooming stuff, like that's all bonding too. And so I want to acknowledge here that my list, like of what I really want to work on with the dogs in my life, it balloons up, right? Because there's so much you can do, and because I really enjoy it. That's just the trainer in me speaking. But I want to acknowledge that training takes effort. It really does. It requires a lot of our time and our mental energy, and if you need to learn, it might be requiring monetary resources as well. It requires a lot of us to teach our dogs. Hey Cassandra, nice to see you here. Thanks for joining. But yeah, so training does take effort, and again, going back to the why trainers kind of keep the absolutely necessary list very short. It's because we want you to get what you need first, right? Full stop. But if you can, or if you want to do more, it's gonna any training that falls into any of those categories, it's gonna improve your dog's life and your life with your dog, right? Because the nice thing is, the more training that you do, the more training that you do, the easier training gets, right? Like each new task that you teach your dog, the better they get at learning, and the faster they pick it up, and they can start to generalize, and they become the dog you always dreamed of. It's lovely. Somebody on my live on Thursday, when we were doing the nail stuff, commented and said, because seeing Dizzy, they were like, that is like the best behaved dog ever. And as I admitted to you earlier, Dizzy couldn't even pass the CGC, so he's not like the best behaved dog ever. That's not true. But he is quite well behaved, and he has become more and more so over the year plus that I've had him. And I think, I mean, it's I won't take all the credit, of course, but because he has gotten older. He was still an adolescent when I got him, but the more that we've done, the better he's gotten. He's just really learned how to get what he needs and do what I need, and it's really nicer, more peaceful household. Now I'm of course going to go and ruin that by getting a puppy now. She's going to throw throw our home into chaos, which I was reminded of as I was walking Dizzy yesterday. I was like, man, this is so nice. Like, I don't have to worry about a dog pulling. He's really focused. Like, getting, oh, it's gonna be a mess. But anyway, the more you do, the easier it gets. So if you've ever done like a little bit of training and it felt like this huge project or a huge hurdle, know that if you keep going, it does get easier. It really does. But one thing that I feel is really, really important. It's something that's close to my heart, and it's how to say this. I'm going to share a quote with you, and it has to do with how we train, because regardless of what you want to train, how we do it is paramount. And so this is a quote by Pat Miller, who says that training is about trust and relationships. And that keyword there, trust, I think is like possibly the most important thing. Whatever you choose to train, your dog's trust in you should always be at the forefront of your mind, at the core of how you're working with your dog. Because there are many ways to train, and there are professionals in the world in training dogs who would recommend things that might get the behavior taught that you want, but they will absolutely destroy your dog's trust. And I think that nothing is worth that to me. For me, my dog's trust is so important. So that is something that I always keep. Just it's always number one. You know, even when I'm so pissed off at at Dizzy here, he's just being totally annoying, a brat one day. Like, even when I'm so angry, I have to tell myself like not to let my emotions get the better of me, because if I do anything that breaks his trust in me, I mean, trust is just so hard to get back. You know that. That's true for dogs too. And so, yeah, never letting my emotions get the better of me. And how we train and how we live with our dogs impacts that. So had to throw that in there, had to mention it. But with that, let me show you a couple of my favorite behaviors. I like to teach everybody their favorites because they're so easy for you to teach, so easy for your dog to learn, and they're so incredibly versatile. So the first one is just a hand target. We call this touch, and what it is you're just going to ask your dog to touch his nose to your hand. Voila, that's it. So I'm going to go ahead and switch cameras so you can see how we do these. Am I going to switch cameras? That's a good question. Yay, oh, good, it works. And hopefully our camera works too. You can see Dizzy sleeping there. Time to wake up, Diz. Time to wake up. So when I'm teaching a hand target or touch, what I'm going to do is I say the word first, and then I'm going to present my hand about Dizzy's nose height, and a little bit away from his nose. Now he does know this already, but he can still demonstrate for us. And I've talked about markers, you guys know. So I'm going to mark with a click. I do a tongue click the moment that his nose touches my hand, and then he gets a treat in that hand. So I'll show you how that goes. Dizzy, touch. Yes. Yep. Touch. Yes. Let's turn this way so they can see touch. Yes. And once they're able to touch, once they're able to walk around, it becomes a nice little alternate recall, right? Touch. Yes, very nice. Your dog could be in the other room, and if you've worked on this a bunch, you can just say the word and the dog's going to come running and looking for your hand. Touch. Yes, very good. And this was one of the first things I taught Dizzy. He's known it for a long time, but recently we've been working on a longer duration. I want him to keep his hand in there, so that can start to look like this. Touch. Yes. And the reason that's handy is because if we are, say we're walking and he's got a little bit of reactivity to other dogs, this is something that I could ask him to maybe keep his nose to my hand as we pass another dog, so that he doesn't do anything else, like turn and start barking and lunging at the other dog. It gives him something to do, something to focus on and get rewarded for, instead of the behaviors that I would rather not see. So that we could do touch, right? And he'll keep his hand, touch. He'll keep his hand there as we move. So this is really nice. It also can be a nice way to get out some energy. If I ask him to do a high touch, so touch, yes, touch. Oh, sorry, that that hand signal kind of looked like his wave. That wasn't really fair to him, but touch. Too high. But yeah, it's also a really nice foundation for some other tricks or some other behaviors that you might want to teach. If your dog knows to follow your hand, you can teach them a nice spin both ways, right? So touch, and I haven't even scratched the surface, but touch is so good for so many. It serves so many purposes. It fits in a lot of those different slots, a lot of those different reasons that I listed in our talk today. Touch can fit in there and meet a lot of goals. So if you don't have a lot of time to, well, here, let me sit down. Yeah, so if you don't have a lot of time to teach a bunch of stuff, if you don't want to go through and like work on that whole CGC list, or you just don't have time to do a sit and a down and a stay and a wait and a leave it and a loose leash walking and all those things, touch can kind of get you there. Like, you can teach one thing, and that's all you need, right? So that is our that's our touch. It also, I haven't mentioned yet, is really nice for especially with a new dog, a dog who's new to you, or is a puppy and they're still learning about humans in general. It's a really, really nice way, because it's trained with treats. It's a really good way to teach a dog that human hands are good things, that they're not bringing danger, because a lot of dogs are nervous about what human hands are doing, right? So this is it's a good way to build a solid, to start to build a foundation that human hands are not dangerous. They're not weapons. They bring happiness. And so it's you can kind of classically condition humans and human hands that way. It grabs their attention, and again, because it's really fun and easy for your dog, and they're doing it with you, and you're providing lots of good things, it's wonderful bonding. So this is why I'm such a huge fan of touch. It's like, yeah, it's just easy. It's a low bar, and it can do so much for you and your dog. So love touch. And then the second one that I will show you is, you're gonna think this is even easier, but it's also really nice, and that's Find It. And this can kind of serve a lot of the same purposes as touch, but it's just not involving your hands. It's a good way to provide a distraction for the dog. It could also, kind of the example I described earlier, where I need to walk Dizzy, or walk a dog past another dog, or past something that he's uncomfortable with. I can use Find It to keep him kind of distracted as we move along. It's really, really wonderful enrichment. Like, You can do this for no reason at all, or you can do this to teach your dog something, or just stop them from doing something else that they shouldn't be doing. Find It is really, really wonderful, and this is how I would teach it. Oh, by the way, thank you, Cassandra. So Find It is really nice. Oh, I did say it. And literally, that's all it is I'm going to say the cue, find it, and then he's going to see me toss a treat somewhere. It doesn't matter where it goes as long as your dog can see it and then knows to sniff it out. So with a new dog, especially with a young dog who maybe is still developing their searching skills, like they're still working on how to use that brilliant nose that they have, you might want to start by tossing it on a surface that's very contrasty. So like I've got my yoga mat here and very dark colored treats. So if I put this on the mat, Dizzy's definitely going to be able to see it with his eyes without not having to use his nose quite as much. So you might start there, and by not tossing it too far, but you're going to keep the order the same every time. So I keep the treats hidden until I say, find it. And then it goes down there. And then as your dog learns, they've made that association between that phrase and getting to go and seek out a treat on the floor. You're going to start to see you say it, and the dog looks either up to you or they point their nose down to the floor to start looking, right? So find it. And as they make that connection, you can start to toss it further, maybe hide it in the grass, find it. Dogs love to just try and sniff out kibble in the grass. Like, you can actually feed your dog's meal that way, and I consider it a kindness to dogs. They love it. So you could just toss their whole bowl out there, or you could do this individually, and kind of, let's say, hey Diz, if you're if you're at my side here, if we were walking along on the street and he didn't have any leash skills quite yet, say I'm holding a leash, I could just keep walking and say, find it, toss him down by my feet, and it's going to keep his pace more with me, right? Because he knows that I'm not going to toss it all around everywhere. It's going right by my feet, find it. And so I could feed breakfast that way, and it's a good way to get really nice leash behavior. Yeah, you got to carry food, but frankly, I would rather do that than like have my shoulders yanked out of their sockets the whole walk, you know? Find it. And besides that, the dogs really, really enjoy this game. Find it. If you have a long hallway, you can find it. You can just do find it's with their breakfast up and down the hallway. If you can't get outside that day for, it's rainy or who knows why, it's a good way to just get your dog some quick exercise without having to take them on a hike or to the dog park or wherever. Really, really nice way to just get your dog some exercise if they have to chase down, find it, those treats. So that's find it. So, sorry, Diz, that's the end of the treats. It's the end of the road for now. So yeah, that Touch and Find It are two of my favorites, again, because there's such a low bar. It's so easy. It like requires barely any effort from you, and your dog is gonna love you for it. Promise. So yeah, I hope you enjoy those. I mean, if you've never done that with your dog, give it a shot. You're gonna have a lot of fun with them. And I just would like to leave you with, again, there is nothing that's required. It's what your dog needs, right? So I can't tell you there's anything you have to teach your dog, but it can be a lot more fun than you think. I mean, I'm a trainer, and I'm a trainer because I find it so enjoyable. But I think that training has a history of being kind of just not as fun as it can be. You know, we're seeing now, just in the last 10, 20 years, that like how much more people and their dogs can get out of training, and how really, really, really fun it can be. And so that's what I'm here to share. I just want people to realize that, you know, even if you don't have any particular interest in training, but you want to have more fun with your dogs, or you just want your dogs to behave better and not have to put too much effort into it, that's what I'm here to share. This stuff is really, really fun. And like I said, your dogs are going to love it. Say says, that's so true. This kind of training is a much healthier approach. This would build a stronger relationship with your dog. Yeah, really, really does. So Cassandra says, find it was Cusco's favorite, but I would hide them in a mound of blankets and toys. Oh, yes, yes. Kept him occupied for a good few minutes, worked his nose and brain. Oh my gosh, yeah, you guys, that is another way to like level up the find it game. Like I said, with these games here, I'm barely scratching the surface, but I wanted to give you an introduction. But yeah, Cassandra, I love that like hiding the toys. Like I suggested you could scatter them in the grass, which is kind of like they have to root around to really find them, but you can make it even harder. I mean, and that's really all enrichment, you know, for your dog to get to use their nose to search, seeking out something that they're gonna love, is just not only does it work their brain, which means they're more tired, which means that you have a better behaved dog, but they're going to be happier. They feel good. It like brings up really, really warm, fuzzy feelings for your dog to get to search for their food. And it's why I tell people, get rid of your dog bowl. Like, I don't care if you toss it in the grass, if you hide it in blankets, and what you do, but if you scatter their food around so that they have to sniff it out, oh, they're going to be there. This is one of the, again, easiest but best things you could do for your dog. It's awesome. So lucky Cusco. I love to hear that. And toys. She mentioned toys too. Of course. You know, Kongs and puzzles and even homemade stuff. I mean, we save all of our toilet paper and paper towel rolls, little cardboard, to put treats in there, maybe poke holes in them, or let the dog tear it apart. But yeah, when your dog gets to sniff out stuff, really, really wonderful enrichment, and requires no training at all, mind you. But anyway, so yes, that's where I'll leave you guys tonight. Thank you so much for joining me. And yeah, if you have any thoughts, always feel free to leave them in the comments. I'd love to hear just what people have to say about their opinions. What would you like to teach your dog? What would you like to teach, or what would you wish other people would teach their dog? That is actually kind of what started me on this road of thinking about this topic. I wish people wouldn't reinforce my dog for jumping up. We haven't quite gotten to where I want to be with not jumping on guests, not jumping on people. Making progress, but we're not there yet. And that's partly because a lot of times when dogs jump, people reward it by petting them and giving them attention and talking to them. And so that's one thing that I'm just like, I wish everyone knew this. I wish everyone understood. But alas, there are no rules. And that's all there is to it. So anyway, I hope you guys have a lot of fun with your dogs, and I hope to see you on Wednesday. All right, bye.